Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Those of you tuned in via various media, good afternoon. Is it afternoon yet? Is it 12? Good afternoon and welcome to all of you. Today we will hear from the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit and Minister for the Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment, Honorable Kozia Frederick. As usual, we will then take your questions. Please welcome the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit.
Morning, everybody. Morning to the press, and good afternoon to those following the press conference. This is in keeping with our commitment to meet with the press every fortnight, and I think so far we've been keeping true to that commitment, time and schedule permitting. So I want to thank you again for making the time to be present. I want to, first of all, apprise you of a new development with our tourism industry. You would have noticed that Dominica, as a destination, is enjoying a period of high visibility and glowing reviews in top industry publications. Just in the past 2 weeks alone, Dominica was named to at least 3 highly regarded lists, including features on CNN Travel and Time magazine. These are encouraging signs that we are on the right track with our efforts to position the destination as a desirable option for travelers seeking a unique vacation experience. I want to take this opportunity to commend the work that has been done at the Discover Dominica Authority and to the many tourism stakeholders, especially since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, to promote the destination and keep the industry thriving. Dominica, however, has some more work to do in order to transition into a global brand and the most sustainable, climate-resilient destination in the Caribbean. As part of the reset promised by this government, we want to strengthen our tourism authority into a more strategic entity to lead market diversification and penetration and place the sector on a sustained growth trajectory. To this end, the Government of Dominica has engaged the services of William Griffith, the Managing Director of WCG Consulting, which offers specialist services in strategic management and marketing and sales for the tourism and hotel industry. We have engaged Mr. Griffith to assist and direct us in navigating through the next phase of our tourism transformation. Mr. Griffith comes with a vast tourism experience. He has over 12 years public sector experience, having served as a Director of Tourism in Bermuda and a CEO of the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc. Among his many accolades, he was voted Bermuda's Hotelier of the Year, was awarded Lifetime Achievement Award there as well, and was named the Caribbean Tourism Director of the Year in 2018. Mr. Griffith's scope of work, in the first instance, is to examine and recommend solutions for building tourism awareness locally, explore training opportunities and the possibility of establishing a hospitality institute, and examine the current business model of the Discover Dominica Authority with a view to strengthening capacity and effectiveness. He will also look to identify and court new airline partners with the objective of securing additional airlift opportunities and assess the status of the current cruise industry to increase its economic impact through improvement of product offerings and a further sensitization of our people on the importance of customer service. In short, he will assist us in several areas to accelerate meaningful change and achieve success within the tourism industry. With a new outlook on Dominica's tourism, we can build on the gains we are experiencing and bring even greater awareness to our island as a tourism destination of choice in the Caribbean. My expectation is that in the next 12 months, I will receive a realistic and aggressive strategy growth plan for the next 5 years. In respect to the international airport, this week I intend on leading a media tour of the airport site at Wesley. As I've indicated, preparatory work on the international airport project is ongoing, and we have hit quite a few targets at the site. The development and construction of the airport is in keeping with all the legal and technical requirements. My office will make the necessary arrangements and inform the media shortly of the specifics. I look forward to bringing you and the people of Dominica along for a look at the work we have done so far. As you know, as I said, work has been done on preparing the site to set the various aspects that will aid in the construction of the airport. And so that's why you see a lot of clearing taking place in certain particular areas, of course, to do further geotechnical surveys on the site. Once those things are in place and all of the necessary legal and technical requirements have been set aside, then you will see the full steam of movement. We have also been in touch with owners of equipment. They have sent us a proposal, and we are facilitating the discussions with the contractor with a view to having those pieces of equipment that are locally owned to be engaged at various times during the construction of the airport. And of course, several people, just in with the boat coming in, the port has been able to make a significant, they have been able to receive a significant check, I would say, just by clearing the boat. And a number of local transporters, people with the ability to haul equipment and so forth, have been used to transport all the heavy equipment to the airport site. So things are shaping up. And so, because we understand that the International Airport Project is for the people of Dominica and for the future of our children, at every stage you must be kept fully informed and become invested in the successful completion of this important project. So we look forward to the site visit, where you will see, you will smell, you will hear as the media, and you'll be free to ask questions to the technical people on various components of the airport, taking you from acquisition to construction of the homes, construction of the lab, the equipment that's in the lab, to the construction of the office spaces, to the geotechnical surveys that have been done and how many boreholes have been dug so far, and even making arrangements for the respectful transfer of some remains of some deceased people to new locations, working with the families to facilitate this, the government covering the cost of the burial, and the families have given us the dates, and so we're now waiting for them to arrive so that we can have the bodies relocated to a place where family and friends can continue to pay their respects to the fallen family members. So we're very careful with how we approach this, and I think the visit from the media would be very helpful. At this time, as you know, I normally bring one minister with me. I have with us the Minister for the Environment and Kalinago Upliftment and many other things in between that. So I will invite him to share with us some words.
Good morning, members of the media and the listening public. I serve in the Cabinet of Ministers as the Minister of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment. And in so doing, I do lead the charge with a number of departments, but also we are also tasked with overseeing some projects. So we do have the Forestry, Wildlife and Parks Division, the NEP, the Carnago Affairs Division, Solid Waste, the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, and we do have the assistance of a parliamentary secretary who is primarily in charge of the Constituency Empowerment Department. And we do have a number of projects that liaise with departments of government and also international institutions. So I'll start off with a brief overview of the happenings at the Forestry and Wildlife and Parks Division. We have ongoing works with our nurseries and also the national trails. In regard to the nurseries, we do have 6 nurseries across the country, and they are namely in Melville Hall, 1 Mile, Portsmouth, Soufriere, Granby, Dalis, and Bells. And these 6 nurseries are all staffed by interns from the NEP, with guidance from the good folks at the Forestry Department. As it regards to the trails, we are spending a significant amount of monies to rehabilitate the Middleham Falls trails, Shimelita, Syndicate Nature Trail, the Cabbage National Park, the Berry Lake, and also the Freshwater Lake. So we are continuing this work, and we are now in the process of completing the audits of the National Trail with its 14 segments across the country in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture and also with support from the World Bank. An important part of the ministry, though, is really the National Employment Program. And I would like to spend a little time on this. It's such an important intervention that I think for the most part is clearly misunderstood. And so we have various components in the NEP. We have people engaged in the public sector across departments of government. There are folks engaged at the Dominica China Friendship Hospital. There are folks who are full-time interns in private institutions across the country. There are also some institutions who are assisting, and so we have a 50-50% partnership, where we pay half of the salaries, and the institution pays the other half. We do have a number of folks at schools across the Dominican space. We have folks within the constituency offices, and we also have the most famous one that normally we ascribe to NEP, which is the cleanup and beautification aspect of it. So in total, we have a little above the public service numbers. We have 4,352 people engaged in the NEP system across the board. And so just this year, we have spent over $29 million in the NEP, so which is a significant amount of money. And I'll tell you, folks, this is all indigenous funds, so local monies that we're able to raise to do that. And an important part I would like to highlight here is the significant amount of money we spend within the private sector. Yes, so the small shop owners, the barber shops, we do have people engaged at the guest houses. And in that sector, we spend on average monthly over $600,000. That means the government is investing that amount of money in the private sector. And so one of the things I want to leave with the listening public is the fact that we do, as a government, support wholesomely small enterprises. And I also want to encourage and highlight the fact that the small business agencies must also continue to work with us to engage that they could rope in and bring in on a permanent basis the folks who are engaged within the NEP. And so we have a significant amount of workers, and on a monthly basis we do spend about $5.8 million on a monthly basis to ensure that the smooth running of the NEP occurs. And to remind the listening public that the NEP is not just the beautification part of the project, but it goes across the board into government services and also private sector. I also do have the opportunity to oversee the workings of the Carnago Affairs. It's something I'm very passionate about. I will not spend so much time, but to say that we do have 2 significant projects. One, we are collaborating with the CDB to ensure we build resiliency within the Carnago space. The end product is a multi-purpose emergency shelter, but in the interim we are treating people at the hamlet level, the community level, to be able to manage and maintain that facility once it's built. And so we're building capacity at the Carnival Council, empowering local governance and encouraging local development. And so we have a commitment for the CDB through the Canadian government over $2.1 million in that project. But also to note that government is also making a significant contribution. It appears to me that every other day it increases. So we are moving from over $600,000 from the government's end to almost maybe $1 million in the coming weeks. And so we will have this project, which is a wonderful collaboration with an indigenous Caribbean agency, the CDB, but also with the government, and working to empower the local government and the local government system at the community level. But to say that one of the biggest interventions in the history of the Carnago space is really what we call the KDF. And that should be like a KFC. KDF, everybody should remember that, is the Carnago Development Fund. It's a fund that is established to ensure that the First Nations of our country have an equal opportunity to access monies, to build their own enterprises, and to build their own resilience, and to develop their own capital. And so the government has invested a significant amount of money in that project. We see sectors ranging from agriculture, housing, industry, education, and consumer services. And we expect in the coming budget cycle to have an increased allocation of monies. So we do have folks across the board. There are more than 20 folks who have accessed that funds, and they have accessed significant amount of money to make investments. So I just want to encourage people within that space to use the opportunity to invest and to make strides to have the development at their own time in their own hands. And I really want to thank the Prime Minister for his leadership on that, but also to thank my forebearers on whose shoulders I stand, Kelly Grano, Ashton Grano, Cassius Daru, who started the project, and I could actually have it come to fruition at this time. We have also projects that are collaborating with international agencies. So we do have at the ministry a project we call very simply the EDA. It's an Enhanced Direct Access project with the GCF and the JEF. And we've been able to use that project to assist the government service through the PSIP, but also to look at targeting NGOs. And so working through the JEF, which is the Small Projects Grant, we have been able to assist the Atkinson Disaster Committee with a project cost of more than $300,000. The Giordel Eccleston Consumer Cooperative Society Limited, we're looking at an excess of another $300,000. Monroe Trade Development Committee, more than $600,000. The Salisbury First Baptist Church, we're talking about $527,000. And the Southeast Community Response Project, and also the St. Peter's Fishery Cooperative. So we've been working with agencies to ensure that they have access to finance, to build their resiliencies. So this project has moved beyond the remit of the government system, but also working with a massive project like the Global Climate Fund. And I really want to thank the leadership at various levels of the project, even starting from our present CABSEC back in the day when she was a permanent secretary, to see that project come through. We've been also able to partner with an international agency. So we have the United Nations conventions for decertification. And we have a project called the PISLM, which is the Partnership Initiative for Sustainable Land Management. And I so happen to be the chair of the high-level forum at the ministerial level in the OECS. And that's coming out of a meeting in Trinidad. And we have been able to use Dominica's best practices to enforce that project. And so in the coming months, we will see more than 12 countries across the region joining this project. In the terms of the Dominican piece, we have a project called the Sustainable Land Management for Dominica. That's in excess of $13 million. And we're speaking about that $30 million US dollars is co-financing. So it's stuff that the government and the departments are all contributing. Because for some reason, we highlight the cost, we highlight the financing that is given by an agency, but we don't always factor what we ourselves contribute. So within the JEF project for that intervention, US $1.7 million is the financing from the JEF. but locally we are contributing over $13 million. And so we've been able to look at developing more than 200 hectares of lands across the country, and to use proper what we call SLM approaches, sustainable land management practices, to restore free watershed areas across the region. We have developed more than 5 plans for 5 different parishes across the country, so we can better manage our resources. There are a number of things. We have created manuals for the extension officers. We have trained extension officers. We have plots where farmers can demonstrate what they have learned and pass on the knowledge to others. We have looked at managing the watershed areas in Batali, in Kulibistri, and La Plaine. And also we have been able to work with the NYC, National Youth Council, to train, as we speak, more than 500 youth in sustainable land management practices. So it is all working in the progress, and we're proposing to do more as we continue. I happen to still chair the high-level forum, so I'm hoping to use my influence here to do a lot more in the region, and especially in Dominica. We do have a post-Maria project, which is directly related to the Forestry and Wildlife and Parks Division, and we have been able to finance and assist in the industry and to provide more than 10,000 seedlings. And with the work that's done and the resources we have, we should be able to do 10,000 seedlings per year. And we have assisted the division in procuring necessary equipment in excess of $600,000. And we have also engaged more than 20 youth in the importance of the forestry sector. And so we have been doing this across the board. So we have had a number of collaborations at the international level and also at the local level. I come from the Salabia constituency. It's a place I love. We've been able, for the most part, to do a lot of housing interventions. And the HRP appears to reside in the Kainago space. And I will not say the numbers, but it's a significant number of people who have benefited from the HRP, which is the Dominica government's housing recovery project. And we also have collaborations with the EU. I want to thank the leadership of the Prime Minister here, Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit, for allocating all of the 50 homes within that space. To date, we have delivered more than 18 homes, and we have 32 more prepping to be delivered. For the Atkinson part of the constituency, which involves Atkinson and Trizzle area, we are doing the Pont-au-Pied Link Road, which is a BNTF project. It is very significant because it will link the Kainago space with the Trizzle community. It will use an old traditional road, and it will open new lands for housing development and also for easy access in terms of emergencies on the East Coast. And we have the general new East Coast Road, a bit dusty now, a bit rugged now, but you can well imagine when it's done, it will be a wonderful drive through this space, and to get easy access to the international airport once it is done. And of course, that space also benefit from all of the social safety nets. So NEP, 65 years and over, public allowance, all of it. So all of the programs that the rest of the island benefits from, the Kainago spaces also benefit from that, and also the Salabia constituency by extension. We've been able to collaborate within that space with the Ministry of Agriculture to develop the agro-processing sector, more specifically the cassava production. And we have worked in collaboration with UNDP to procure more than $10,000 US dollars worth of equipment to develop the sector in the Trizzle area and also in Sensi and Salabia. We've worked also in collaboration with the Welfare Division to look at child abuse prevention and also basic parenting. And so this ties in nicely with the Constituency Empowerment Unit that we have in the ministry, which is led now by Parliamentary Secretary Darren Lloyd. And we will have access to more than $100,000 in the coming weeks to do projects and programs. And we have a good model in the East. We do have a backyard. We took on the call by the Prime Minister to do backyard gardening in the East Coast to ensure we have a good supply of food. And also we have also tasked with setting up and assisting all of the project offices and the constituency offices across the island. So in a nutshell, this is the work we've been doing at the Ministry of the Environment, with the assistance of all of the heads of department and the wonderful staff who continue to assist this new ministry grow and evolve. Thank you very much.
Thanks to the Honourable Minister for such a comprehensive overview of his very expansive ministerial portfolio. At this point, we will take questions. Let's all aim for a 1 p.m. end. So, who wants to take the first go? Carla John Baptist, Nature Isle News.
Okay, the first question is, PM, the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission, SEC, has charged its founder, Justin Sun, and I know recently the government got involved with entered into an agreement with that company. Can you tell us how concerned government is, because you're hearing a lot is being spoken about that company, and what, if any at all, actions you intend to take as it relates to that? Also, we've been hearing a lot of talk about a recent order by the by the High Court in Dominica, where two containers belonging to Justice of Appeal, retired Baptiste, continues to be at the port, and seems clearly in contravention of the Section 15 of the Supreme Court Order Act and Section 10(6) of the Salaries, Allowances, Conditions for Judges. And that continues to be at the port. The court has made a ruling on that. What is the next position for government?
It is of the United States and Justin Sun. The government of Dominica is not put up at all by this. There's no involvement in the government of Dominica in this matter whatsoever. There's no naming of Dominica or the government of Dominica in this matter whatsoever. Nothing at all. But on the broader question, the broader perspective of this question, we in Dominica, we have to move away from this. I mean, I met the Prince of Wales when he was the prince. Now he's the king. Is that my responsibility for him being the king? I mean, I met Sarkozy. President Sarkozy. Both when he was a minister and when he was president, he fell into problems with the law. I mean, you see, I have a photography of him. What does that have to do with me or the country? I have no problem when people ask legitimate questions as you're doing. But in Dominica, we have to move away from this attitude that anything that we believe could bring Dominica down, that some of us are celebrating it. We need to get the facts of these matters, and then inform of the facts, and not innuendos and aspersions and improper motives and seeking to bring the country down. So we're not at all put by this. There's absolutely no involvement in the government of Dominica in this whatsoever. I mean, the issue of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is a global phenomenon now. Even in the United States, the Fidelity Bank offered people to participate in cryptocurrency. In many parts of the developed world, this is being done. Obviously, the issue of cryptocurrency and so on, because it's not regulated by central banks yet, there's an issue of proper regulation. But it's a global phenomenon. It's a global phenomenon, and I think that it's important that countries like ours, we need to look at the opportunities that these things may provide for our young, trained, excited young people who are looking for opportunities, for higher pay, to create a better standard of living for themselves. We must not appear to let the entire world run with it, and then we're trying to, 20 years later, try to do that which many countries have done. And so, in our view, I believe that it's a matter I've been raising within the Caribbean community for a couple of years now, that we need to explore this thing. I'm not saying that let us join it. I'm not saying let us participate in it. I'm not saying that. But should we not explore it so that when it comes to a point where central banks in the various parts of the world have decided to provide oversight and regulation for this, then we're fully knowledgeable about it, and we're fully informed about it, and this is what it is, and so these are some of the things I believe that we have to do. I've met many young people in this country, Dominican citizens who are resident here in Dominica and overseas, who are involved. There are many Dominicans who are involved in cryptocurrency arrangements. Many Caribbean people are involved in it in various levels and various forms. And I'm not saying that tomorrow morning let's sign an agreement and let us start as a country involved in it. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we need to inform ourselves about these things, educate ourselves about these things. What are the opportunities? What are the downsides of these things? What are the upsides of those things? So that we have education. We have information about these things, and this is what we're saying. There's nothing at all. I mean, there's no regret or disappointment or anything like this. We signed an MOU. That was it. What somebody is involved in, whether in their past years or future years, has no bearing on us. The Dominicans who go to the United States having received green cards and they get deported back to Dominica because they found themselves in difficulties with the law. I mean, do you blame the green card system of America or the citizenship process in America, or do you blame us? No. I mean, everybody must stand on his own 2 feet in respect to whatever questions whoever has to answer from any entity anywhere in the world, Dominica included, and so forth. But that's what it is. We're not questioning what the SEC has done on the basis of that's matter for them and Mr. Ambassador Son to deal with. That's nothing to do with us and so on. So that's a matter for the SEC and for them to determine what the issues are. And so on. But all I know is that normally when the SEC put those charges before, it is not a criminal charge. It's not a criminal charge. It's an infraction of their standards and their regulations, and they may impose a financial charge on you. You don't have to plead guilty, or it doesn't determine your guilt or innocence, or whatever it is. There are many banks in America, Wells Fargo, a lot of banks in America have been fined by the SEC. For regulations that they have violated or they're not adhered to. These things happen almost on a daily basis. So we're making a big hoopla about this thing in Dominica that doesn't determine the price of sugar on the shelf in Dominica. That really doesn't make sense to me. Which one is that? Which leader is that? Thomas Morgan. Okay. Okay.
Having a background in finance, saying that we should cut that time.
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody should rely on what Dr. Fountain says on anything as a basis of reference. So I will not react to that at all. I won't react to that at all. In respect to Justice Baptiste, it's unfortunate the matter had to go to court. I don't agree. You're saying that the government has violated the Supreme Court Act is not correct. It's not correct at all. But that's for a court of law to determine. For me personally, I believe that the Parliament may need to expressly pass legislation to deal with individuals like justices of the courts, head of a regional international organization, that if these people are Dominican, they were recruited from Dominica, in their return to Dominica, that all of those things that they're bringing in should be brought in with no hindrance by way of custom duties and taxes and so forth, because people have made contributions to the region. They left Dominica and worked overseas. But at the end of the day, we're a country of rules and laws. And if a law does not allow the customs to facilitate something, the custom cannot go and facilitate it. Because every one of us under this cover of the country, our actions are determined by the Constitution or laws passed by Parliament. In respect to a judge of the Supreme Court, it is the Supreme Court that is mandated to cover the custom duties and the charges on behalf of retiring judges. We've had retiring judges here who were subjected to the same process, Justice Allen and Justice Olome Edwards, all of whom paid the duties that they were supposed to pay to clear the motor vehicle into the country. Ambassador LaRock came into Dominica, and he had to pay some duties on his vehicle, which is unfortunate. For me personally, I don't agree. I don't agree with this, but me disagreeing with it is not law. So I have a personal view about these things. I've expressed a personal view about these things. Even the way with regards to foreign missions resident in Dominica. There's certain encumbrances that the laws place on them, which I don't agree with. And I think we need to look at amending those laws and to bring greater clarification to this matter. So going forward, there will not be any issues and so forth. But it's unfortunate the matter went to court. But we'll see what happens. Doesn't matter. Once it goes to court and it's out of my hands, it's a matter for the Attorney General to deal with. But my view is that the Parliament may want to give consideration to having a separate piece of legislation, notwithstanding what the Supreme Court mandate is, or obligations are. I think if somebody serves as a head of CARICOM or head of PAHO and you're coming back, I think you should drive your vehicle off the port with no difficulty. That's my personal view. That's not the law. No, I'm not the law. You see, people like to give me authority that I don't have, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So that's the law. So I'm saying that we're looking at maybe going to Parliament and to have a special piece of legislation to deal with that so that we don't have misunderstanding with the state and persons who come in and so forth. But it's unfortunate that the matter go to court. It's really unfortunate. I know Justice Baptist very well, distinguished Dominican jurist, and so forth. But the law is the law, and I guess it's in court, so the court will maybe make a determination on this in terms of what is the interpretation of the system and so forth. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. The issue of resettlement in the area of La Plaine, I mean, you may not be the housing minister, but you may know something about it.
Yeah.
Came up last week as it relates to the resilience of those buildings there.
Yeah.
And note that some of the residents may have to be removed from that area. What can you tell us about that? And second question is, I've been told that there's some issues with port computers in recent times.
Port computers?
Yeah, crashing, and they're having difficulty.
Yeah. Well, on the issue of, I've heard talk show comments and social media comments about the apartment in La Plaine, and that there are structural integrity issues. And that was reported by a one person called Jason Fontaine. And that is whom people are relying on to give them information. And if you're going to rely on Jason Fontaine, nice guy, but if you're going to rely on him for information, then we have a problem. We have a problem. As far as we know, that there are no structural integrity issues of the buildings. What we do know is that there has been a challenge with the septic system. Fortunately or unfortunately, an advanced septic system was placed at the building, at those buildings, not only in La Plaine, but in Grand Bay and elsewhere. And those septic systems require management and maintenance, which we already find these systems in developed countries. We are more accustomed to a traditional septic tank and sockaway system. If you have the land space, and in Roosevelt we have the central system, but in the countryside that's all we provide. So sometimes you have challenges both with the system and also human behavior, where things are thrown into the toilet systems, things are thrown into the system that blocks the flow of the waste, and there's a backing up So if they in any any system anyway, what is the traditional system that we use of septic tank and sockaway? If they flow from the toilets to the tank is blocked, then you'll back it up. You understand? And that's what's happening. The minister has told me that they'll be engaging in the next couple of days a firm to go at all of these housing sites to have the tanks emptied. And it's something we discussed over a year ago, the possibility of going to the original designs of septic tank systems, to use the traditional one of a massive septic tank with a second chamber and then going into a sockaway system. That there are areas where we have land for this. In Granby there's land for this, in Daly's there's land for this, in Lapland there's land for this. So we're looking at using some local contractors, some of whom have provided us with some proposals to do that. But in the interim, we'll engage a firm that will do regular maintenance for us. So that issue, I'm hoping that it won't reoccur. But I think my personal view, we may want to go to our traditional system and not the modern advanced system that was installed at the homes and so forth. But insofar as resilience and so forth, you see, I think that, and I'm not speaking specifically about the Lapland residents and so forth, speaking generally, nationally, that when people are given those homes, that they have to show some level of pride and gratitude and responsibility for the upkeep of those homes. You know, it is not because you're given something free that you must not appreciate it. Because when you mash it up, or if you mash it up, you're the one who will sleep without a window there, because the government is not going to come every time like this and replace a window or door for anybody. I mean, we took you from rent of $1,000 and we put you into a home with no rent being paid. Some of that rent money should be saved in order for you to maintain your home. And let's face it, people, when the government builds a house and there are some issues, maybe a tile falls off or something happens, people make it as if, well, this is an unusual occurrence. We build homes, we go to the banks, we take a loan, we give a contractor to build a house. There'll always be an issue. This is why there's a period of liability. So anything that happens, let's say within 1 year or 6 months or 2 years, then the contractor has to do the remedy. And in our case, when we build homes privately, we never have this clause in the agreements. Some of us don't sign agreements with any contractor. We just agree on an amount and we just pay him for the time. But things happen. A pipe bursts, guy plastering and he knocks a 2-inch nail into the pipe. Then you're there, you wonder where the water is coming from. You can't figure it out. The plumber comes, and cuts your bathroom, no leaks, and you find out that it's in the concrete slab that the leak is. You either have to abandon that connection or dig a trench in the concrete slab to get to it. So these are unusual occurrences, and we have to move away, because when we do these things as a society and we make these things an issue when they're not issue, I mean, what kind of example are we setting for our children? You know, and then we say, well, why are your children like this? When we were growing up, we're not like this. Of course you were like this when you were growing up. That's why you're like this now. And that's why you're passing on to your children. You know. So we have to send us a sense of ownership, a sense of responsibility, a sense of pride, a sense of gratitude of people who receive, who receive. So it's something that we really need to address, and not making these things political and seeking believe that people are going to black eye myself. It's not going to happen, because when you're doing the Lord's work, there's not much people can do that can form against you. Yes. Any other questions, please? Yeah.
Good morning.
The port computers. I'm not aware of the port computers. I mean, the port has more staff than the Prime Minister's office. So I'm sure they're hearing you. So Badwill and all of this, Mrs. Valerie and Miss a whole set of people they have down there who can deal with this. We do this stuff of port computers. I'm sure Badwill has somewhere you can go buy some computers this afternoon or buy them in Miami and they come on the plane on Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon. So I really don't know about the port computers. Yeah, but I'm sure Badwill would have heard you, and I'm echoing it so that they could, they could hear you on the spot computers crashing. Yes.
Good afternoon once again. Prime Minister, I have some questions for you as well as for the Minister of Environment. So my questions are, what is the update with the reclassification project where the government review and edits the salaries of jobs in Dominica? In other words, when will we see new rates of pay? My second question is in regards to a situation that was shared with me about this school in Portsmouth, the Passes Development Center. It has been shut down since, I believe, the 12th of December on the grounds that they were meant to do some further developments, but someone told me that nothing was being done. So my question for you is, Prime Minister, in regards to inclusivity, what are some of the plans that you have for people, let's say, with autism or the differently abled? Because I have heard over the past few months a lot of complaints regarding that these set of people have no place to learn, and they are also supposed to be able. That's a right. Education is a right, and people are demanding something be done, especially in the regards of education. And my third question is the raise in child support fees. Some women are desperately requesting a raise in that regard. For the Minister of Environment, sir, the blue structure in Pokasi, I am just querying, is it, some people say it's a fountain, but we haven't seen any construction in that regard. The blue structure in Pokasi, the roundabout. So we're asking, some people are asking, when are we going to see further developments? Is it a fountain, or is it just a structure, whatever it is right now? You spoke about, I heard that you touched on the Waitikubuli National Trail audit. I'm really happy that you did. I just wanted to know how many segments are covered so far. People will want to know because people are very interested in hiking the trails, and they want to know which one is done and which one they can have access to. My third question is, do you agree with the Dominica's Carnival Queen on indigenous reparations? And do you intend to assist her to achieve this goal? And what intentions you have to assist her within her reign, this 1 year period?
Yeah. You come with some serious questions today. The issue of the reclassification exercise that was conducted, I think we have come to an end of the process in large measure, and is the intention of the government to include in the estimates in the budget coming up provisions for its implementation. And I'm hoping that maybe the next time we could have a proper briefing on it, so we can give the public a more comprehensive update on where we are, including new legislation and new regulations to deal with the more efficient management of the public service. So there are a number of exciting things happening. So maybe next briefing will provide an update on this, so that we can give you more information to your question than just saying to you that we're certainly making provisions in these estimates coming up to deal with the reclassification exercise for the public service. But the reclassification doesn't only involve the remuneration aspect of it. It also deals with terms of references and engagement, job descriptions, how to make the public service more efficient and more responsive to the public that it serves, etc., etc., and how to be more productive. And so there are a number of very important aspects to it, and it has gone through a very comprehensive stakeholder consultation, and this is one reason why there's been a delay in its implementation because you have to consult, and when you consult now, then you come back to consult, then another issues come up, so, and you try to give people an opportunity to share their views in an exhaustive manner as possible. So this will be done. The Parsley Center, I know they had issues after the hurricane, the challenges there. I know that there's some additional support that was provided to them. So I'm willing to follow up on this because it's an important facility in Portsmouth, and I really want to commend the efforts of Mr. Emil Lancelot Sr., may his soul rest in peace, who was a champion for children who were differently able and for this Parsley Center, and also Mr. Azov Irish. These were two people who I worked with very closely to provide them with land, to provide them with financial support to build, to provide them with support to run the place. And I think what we really need in the society is not allowing those of us who may have children with these challenges to be the champions only. I think the whole society must become the champions for these children, and I think we lack in that advocacy on the part of the wider population, on ensuring that we carve out a special place and special consideration, not in terms of segregating them from society, but recognizing that they need particular help and particular interventions and particular support that those of us otherwise do not require. And this is one of the mandates to the new Minister for Social Services and People with Disability, is for us to look at this group in the society and to examine what we're doing as a society and as a government for them, and where we're falling short, if we are falling short, and what we need to do to provide for them. Because we're prepared to redirect resources to ensure that these children among us, these special children, are shown the love and the care and attention that they deserve and they need. And so it's something that we're looking at. But it's important for us to, as a whole society, to be advocates, for these people. Because for parents, it is a huge challenge. I know of parents who can't go to work because they have to be caring for the children, and some of the parents do not have the knowledge and the skill to deal with different temperaments and different behaviors and so forth. And so we really have to go through a whole process of not only educating and providing information to the parents, but all of us in society. So that when we interact with children with different abilities, we're able to interact with them in a manner in which we should interact with them. So some things have been done for them, but I think we need to have a special dispensation, as we've done for the elderly, for these children. We try to mainstream it because we don't want any one of them to feel, there's some segregation on something. So a lot of our programs are mainstream, but I still believe that we need to carve out a special dispensation for these children and ensuring that they have what they need to live comfortable, respectable lives, among us in society. So it's something we're looking at. The issue of the child support fees that women are asking for, also men too, because there's some single men. They're not really spoken of much. And you see, when you say that, people laughing. You see how prejudicial the society can be when you talk about single men. We always talk about single women because single women are in the majority, but we like to say single parents. So we use the word single parent. The new legislation is taking that into consideration, and I'm hoping that we're going to go. We keep saying that we need to go to Parliament and pass the laws, and if it's one that's ready, let's go with the one that's ready. I think the government's trying to work for what they call a whole suite. There's a whole suite of legislation. I keep saying, one is ready, two is ready. Let's go let's go with it. Not wait for the whole 5 or 6 to be ready. So about 3 out of the 5 or 6 are ready. Then let's go to Parliament to the 3 or the 5 that are ready. And when the others are ready, finalized consultation, we can go. So the one regards to the maintenance bill, it's ready. It has gone through all the processes of consultation. It's a matter now for us to go to Parliament to have it passed and to put a better mechanism in place for the payment of those child support bills. Really and truly, society should not be legislating these things. I believe that in this instance, majority of men, we have to stand and take responsibility for our children. And not subject the parents to having to go to magistrate court and to receive $200 every month, and when it goes there, it's not there, and then but you're down by the shop drinking kubuli and BB and pink grapefruit juice, and your child can't go to school. I mean, we can't. This cannot be right. We have to address this issue, but it should not wait for a government to go to Parliament to pass laws and to strengthen legislation to address the issues relating to people taking their responsibility. And it is, in large measure too, it is because in this society, we do not speak about individual responsibility. We do not speak about individual responsibility. There are times there's collective responsibility, a group, but there has to be individual responsibility. We cannot keep blaming one person in the country for everything that goes wrong in the country. Somebody called a prime minister. So you go to government department to get a service, the attendant is rude to you, you blame me, rather than holding the attendant responsible. So we have to hold people responsible if we want things to get better. If people believe they can hide under the wings of a prime minister or behind a prime minister, then why improve? Why make a change? But it's the same way you guys posting these things on Facebook about me and responsibility. You could post the person's name and the person's photograph, and let the person understand that you have to do better. It's your individual responsibility. So these are things that we have to talk about in the society. Individual responsibility. And before I pass on to the minister, we have one issue, for example, with water, and the sheer cost of providing water to homes by Duasco. And in the last 12 years, we've seen a dramatic expansion of housing settlements in Dominica. If you look at Dominica, places where we have homes now, there were no homes 12 years ago. You understand? And Duasco has to bring water to all of those homes. All of these homes. There's one community I don't want to mention in the community, but 10 years ago there were no homes. Duasco had to spend $4 million to bring water to these people. We have to build a new tank. We have to run pipes. We have to build a new reservoir. So and maintenance of this is not only about the water coming from the river and going to a tank, going to your homes. It has to be treated. You have to have a quality assurance officer going from time to time to every station in Dominica to check the water quality, make sure that the water we bring to the homes are of the highest standards for drinking. And it's costly. It is costly to Duasco. So, because of the expansion of housing settlements in Dominica, because of the cost of bringing infrastructure and all of the impacts of the natural disasters we've had, from Erica to Maria, the dramatic impact on the water system, we find ourselves in the government having to underwrite a significant portion of Duasco's operational costs. Operational costs on a monthly basis. There are loans that Duasco has that we're paying for Duasco. And sometimes we have to provide it with financial support for his recurrent expenditure. And should that be something that should continue to persist? What about those of us who consume the water, and our attitude to the water that we consume? Do we waste it? Do we conserve it? Do we preserve it? So it's a conversation that I would like to have with us at some point in the country. How do we deal with these issues that are confronting the country, where increasing cost of production, cost of maintenance, you know, and it has to be subsidized, and subsidized to a great extent. So we have to really speak about individual responsibility. But the maintenance bill, my friend, it'll go to Parliament soon. It's ready, so that we can enhance the system that deals with maintenance payments and so forth, etc., etc. And part of the bill, as I indicated last time, and you can go on the government website, I think it's there, also deals with children and their parents. Because there are some people who get in their parents' pension, and they have access to the parents' money in the bank, and they're using it for themselves, and not for the welfare and well-being of their parents. Well, the law is going to address that. The law is going to address that. That if you're receiving pension for your mother, you must use it on your mother. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you can't go and buy it for all sorts of fancy things, and then somebody passes by, especially Emo News pass by, and they take a photograph and video. I mean, has the Prime Minister come to your home recently now? Have you seen a power rep? But she's a pensioner. She's getting a pension. Her daughter is not, her son or daughter, they're not using the money for her well-being. Ask those questions first. You know, are you receiving a pension? Who's managing the pension for you? Do you have money in the bank? Yes, I have money in the bank. My daughter is the signature on the account. But how come what's your daughter's name? These are the kind of questions that anybody who is an aspiring journalist or as they like to call themselves, investigator? Investigative journalists, or as the French say, journalists. You must ask those kind of questions, and when you're probing in this thing, but not questions that are anyway.
Thank you, Miss, for the I think 3 questions. Regarding the blue structure in Pokase, we are aware that it is an NGO that started off the project, and we've been trying to partner with the NGO to move it forward. And we even got to the point where we had a Kalinago intervention, saying that this may be an ideal spot for Kalinago monument. So the conversation will continue, and in the coming weeks we'll clarify all of this moving forward. Regarding the National Trail, there are a few segments that are passable at various points. And that's why it is so important to do the audit, because it may be open today, and weather system could mess it up in the next week. So we do not want to encourage the use of the trail unless the audit is done properly. What the audit will do, it will assess the usage of the trail. It will look at the water crossings. It will look at landslides. It will look at all of the aspects of the trails that existed before. And so once that is done, in the coming months, we'll be able to engage contractors to rebuild in the best possible ways. The third piece regarding the reparations for Kalinago genocide is part of a project that I'm part of for a very long time. I'm part of the reparations committee myself, and there's a CARICOM 10-point plan that speaks specifically toward genocide. And in the 10-point plan, it looks beyond just giving monies. It looks to having a Kalinago development plan. And that is, and one of the responses to that plan is already done within Dominica. So we have far surpassed the CARICOM response by setting up, for instance, the Kalinago Development Fund. And so I'm on that path myself, and it's something that I'll be assisting a former student, a mentee, and now she's like a mentor to me to move that forward. So definitely we're going to push that agenda as it relates to indigenous genocide and looking at the CARICOM research project. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, Mr. Minister, as you there, Nathaniel here,
Yeah.
you mentioned about Kalinago development and institutionalizing help and assistance for those who want to move forward in terms of development, personal as well as community. There is a question, a lingering question with the land possession in the territory. Is that something that is being looked at? Because if you're looking for land sustainability and the ability to access, have access to the land, ownership, question to was French national who disappeared somewhere along the trail, and so far as we're hearing, nothing concrete is coming out of that. What was the position of that?
So, yeah, okay. Well, on the issue of the lands in the Kalinago territory, as you know, it is communally owned, and the lands are managed by the council, with the Kalinago chief as the overseer, and there is a distribution and allocation system within the Kalinago territory. One Kalinago can sell to the other. When the government, for example, in regards to the road where we were doing in the Kalinago territory, we compensated land and property owners for their properties. So the state is respecting this. The issue of moving away from the communal ownership to a individual certificate of title from the Register of Title is a broader question which has implications for the historical definition of the Kalinago people. That the whole community spirit, that once you run the risk of that, where there'll be some that will be disenfranchised. There'll be some that will be disenfranchised, because even now, if we were to speak candidly, there are some people who have too much land in their name, and so even currently with the system, there's an issue of equitable distribution within the Kalinago territory of lands and so forth. What we are, as the minister has indicated, what we have done, Mr. Dura, to facilitate the economic and social advancement and cultural advancement of the Kalinago people, is to introduce the Kalinago Development Fund. And one of the uncompromising, unnegotiated condition of those funds is that the investment must be done in the Kalinago territory, so we can build critical mass, create economic opportunities for the people in the Kalinago territory to help with the economic space. And those funds are guaranteed by the state and managed on behalf of the state by the aid bank. And we have seen a dramatic, obviously we've seen a huge run on these funds in terms of people applying and benefiting from this. And if once those funds are used properly, we will certainly see an improvement in the socio-economic standing of the Kalinago people. And we're committed to providing, in the first instance, obviously, we don't have as plenty money as we used to have before because of COVID and all this war. So we made a commitment to $1 million every year to this fund. Once things get much better, we will increase that amount every year to the Kalinago territory. But that does not discount or disallow external agencies making contributions to those funds. So we're looking at engaging external entities as well to making contributions to that fund, so that the revolving aspect of it can really be seen. So it's important that people use those funds wisely. It's not because it's 2% money, let us go and get it and then let us burn it the other night. I always keep telling people, or reminding people, that money was never meant to be spent. It was always meant to be managed. And people have to learn to manage money and not spend money. And some people call it burn money. People, guys just burn money, and so money was always meant to be managed. No university you go to where they have money spending courses. It's always money management courses. So we have to pay attention to that. And the issue of the trail, which I'll end on, is that and it's a discussion we've had in the Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of the Environment, that they need to, I believe that Ministry of Tourism and the Forestry and Park, we need to improve on our public sensitization, public education about the various sites in Dominica, the various trails. And we need to have a better system of making people, or informing people of the availability of tour guides to those trails and those sites, and have a system of dispatch, that we can have a better coordination of this. because that's a challenge. I've been to, maybe 80% of the trails so far. And there are some of them that have some difficult levels, and if you're not careful, you can find yourself staying back. So it's always better to have a helping hand who knows where the rock is to put your foot on, which rock you should hold, which rope you should hold, and where you should walk, and be careful with edge. So it's important that we have people who know the places, and our local tour guides know the places. We have folks going up to the Boiling Lake. Not even Dominicans should go to the Boiling Lake without a tour guide. Because it is an exciting walk, exciting tour, exciting view, but people want to touch the water. They want to do this. They want to come close to it. They want to, people travel with eggs, and they want to put eggs and hold the egg and all of this thing. We have to be very careful with this thing. I know the people get excited with the nature and what Dominica has to offer and so forth. But we're gonna have to put a better system in place to inform people of these things, because you come into a 3-road. Where do you turn? A bad turn can take you somewhere completely out of where you want to go or where you think you're going. And so it's important that we address this, Minister, along with Ministry of Tourism, that we have a better system in place. There's some systems in place, I'm not saying they're not, and there are people who decide they do not want a tour guide. And so we try to dissuade people from going on these tours without a tour guide, because you could get something, you get a cramp, when you get a cramp, you're there by yourself. What happens to you? Or just two of you who do not know the area. First time you go in the forest, and even for people like myself who know about this place, I try to go there by myself. We need people who can, if something happens, that you can get help there. So, thank you very much, folks. Oh, sorry, my friend, please. Yeah.
On March 15th, government officially approved the increase of bus fares. However, from that, the bus drivers have been putting up their fees by themselves or giving fees that were not what the government stipulated. What are your remarks on that?
Yeah, we've heard about this. I know the Ministry of Public Transport and the Transportation Board have been looking at that. My understanding is that in some cases we may have to revisit the rates, as based on what the bus drivers are saying and also commuters are saying. So they're looking at this to see where the tweaking needs to be done, where the changes need to be done. And so that's been done. I'm hoping that there'll be a report soon on this so that those issues can be clarified. But my only advice on this would be to caution persons against going to what has been published in law. Let's not make it a confrontational issue. We tried, based on the request of the taxi and bus drivers, to take into consideration their plight, increasing cost of operation, but we also had to balance it against those of us who use the buses, go to work and to travel across the country. What kind of reasonable balance that we can bring so that it is not dramatic on either party. You understand? And so this is why it took us some time and in consultation to get those things going. And again, this is why it's so important for us to have more associations, more organized bus drivers, so that when we're consulting, we're not only consulting maybe half of the bus drivers in the country, but with a mechanism to consult all bus drivers through an organized structure. So we're aware of this, and I know the Ministry of Public Works is looking at this, and we had asked that they engage some bus drivers again to get a sense of their concern and to see what can be done to address their concern. Yeah, sure.
One last question. What's the latest on the meeting about John Fire?
Yeah. Well, he's supposed to send us a report on the 25th. We have not seen it yet, so I'm hoping that this week we can get it. So that's what we're waiting on from Sir Dennis Byron, the report. But I believe that we need to. My view is that the report needs to be submitted in whatever stage it is. I believe that the Dominican people have waited too long for this. I want to get it over with in the quickest possible time, and submit what you have, and let us go to the public. Let us get the consensus in the public, and let us address the issue of reform and so on. Though I'm hearing that those who were making noise for it in the streets are now saying that this is not a national priority and there are other things that the government should focus on, and electoral reform is not one of them, and there are so many other issues in Dominica. So they moved it from the only priority to now saying that it is no priority at all. You see what I'm saying? But we believe in the government, the need for us to modernize the electoral processes in Dominica, and whether those who said they want it no longer want it, we will proceed with it, because we believe that it is an important thing to do. Though we've had free, fair elections in Dominica prior to our independence and post our independence in Dominica. And so it's a matter of enhancing the processes. And so we look forward to the report of Sir Dennis Byron on this. That's a fair response to your question, Matt? Fair, Matt has said a fair response to his question. Well, thank you, folks. Again, I appreciate your comment. Again, you don't have to wait for the 2 weeks to reach out to us. If there are any burning matters you want to get a response from me to provide you the facts, you can check with the press secretary at any time. I'll be more than willing to give you a response to whatever concern or question that you may have on behalf of the public. So feel free, please. We want to be as transparent and as informative as we have always been, and even more so. So please do not hesitate, the media, at any time to send us a WhatsApp and for the press secretary. Or if you see me walking the street and you stop me and ask me a question, I mean, you can ask me a question. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day.